to North Bennett Street School's virtual open house. I'm Claire Fruitman, I'm the provost, and I'm also a graduate of the Cabinet and Furniture Making program. And lucky for you, that's where you're going to start today. Later on, you'll see locksmithing and security technology. Right now, I want to introduce Dan Faia, the department head of Cabinet and Furniture Making. Have a great time today, enjoy yourselves, and see you later.
Thank you, Claire.
All right, so we're on a tour with Rob.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
All right, and I think we're, our first stop, we're gonna visit Svetlana and Lance.
Hi guys.
Hey, how are you doing today?
We're doing good.
What are you working on?
I'm finalizing my toolbox project, which I'm going to start next semester, and Lance here is helping me out to work on some problems that I run into.
Okay, cool.
We'll make it corrections. There's always some little corrections to make.
Nice. And so with the toolbox, you get to choose like different types of wood, numbers of drawers, things like that?
Yeah, we're just giving like basic parameters that we need to stick within, and after that it is actually the first project that we get to design on our own and like, use all the stuff that we learned prior to like, build it. And the joinery, like drawers, sides, everything, dovetails.
And what choices in your project have you made that you're excited about?
I designed it around the fitting my 2-foot starred blade into one of the drawers. So it had to be, the drawer inside had to be long enough to accommodate that. And also my bottom drawer had to be tall enough where I could store my large router plane, which is about like 3 5/8. So I had to accommodate for like clearance, bottom drawer, the little grooves that we make, like spacing. So I designed it around that, and the rest is just like filling in the gaps.
Cool. Now, Svetlana, we have a live audience with us, and I feel like a lot of times when people are thinking of coming here, they'll wonder what am I doing and how can I see myself there? Would you share with us a little bit of your story and how you found North Bennett Street School?
Yeah, I found North Bennett Street School sitting at home, and a news story came up, and I was just like, oh my God, I never knew like such a school existed. So I immediately called you the very next day. And like within a week, I was like doing all my stuff and to get enrolled. And a week later, COVID hit. But I submitted all the paperwork on time. I was admitted, and actually I started last year because I am a graduate from the carpentry program. And then a couple months into the carpentry program, I decided just doing the carpentry was not enough. So I enrolled into the Cabinet and Furniture program, which is a 2-year program, because I wanted to learn like everything that there is to learn, or as much as I can for my time here in North Bennett. And I am, I get here early, I stay late, I work as fast as I can so I could finish as many projects as I can. So while I'm here, the instructors can help me work on different stuff, just take. I'm trying to take as much as I can.
That's great. And any advice for anybody who is thinking of coming in this direction from your vantage point now?
Do it. Don't think about tuition or stuff. There's so much help out there. There's so many private scholarships. The school offers scholarships. Just do it. Like you would. If you're thinking about it, and if you don't do it, you're gonna regret it. And that is my, because like in the beginning when I started, I didn't go right away for the cabinet and furniture because I was like, oh my God, 2 years, like that's such a long time. I'm a mom, I was working, I'm gonna do this, and then now I ended up being here 3 years. It can happen. There's a way. It's the community is amazing. Once you get here, you have so much support. That's crazy.
That's great. Svetlana, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck with your toolbox.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lance. All right.
Where are we going to head, Rob? We're going to head
I
over?
think we're going to go check out Melanie's blanket chest.
Yeah, awesome.
And also while we're coming by here, I'm just to poke my head in here.
Yep.
How's it going, everybody? There's a chair workshop with Peter Galbert. And so folks are working with Greenwood. How's it going, everybody? And hey, Melanie, how are you?
There's Melanie.
Good. How are you doing, Rob?
Good. So thanks for sharing with us today. You're working on a blanket chest that has some traditional stuff and some customization here.
Yeah. So this is an Army retirement gift for my brother. He's not going to be retiring for a couple more years, but I figured I'd get it done now. And this is a traditional chest that we draft in our first semester. It's a 17th century blanket chest. And on the front here, these carvings are the traditional carvings, like
Okay.
strap carvings, and it would usually be all 3 panels. And it would usually be done in oak. I did it in cherry. And then in the center, instead of the traditional carving, I did this little skull and crossbones on the clover because that's my brother's unit insignia, and they are the Lucky Bastards.
Cool.
Yeah.
And does he know you're making this, or is this a surprise?
He knows.
He does?
Yeah. We've been talking about it, and I send him progress picture updates. I want him to know how the sausage is made so he appreciates what a nice retirement gift this is.
Cool. And Melanie, will you tell us a little bit about your background and your story and how you came to North Bennett Street School?
Yeah. It's complicated and varied, but before this, I was in the Army for 5 years, and for a year after that, I was a DoD contractor. My brother is actually the person who kind of gave me the kick in the pants to apply. I was complaining once again about how much I hated my job and how I'd rather make furniture, and he was like, "You should probably just do that." So I did, and here I am. And I'm 4th semester now, and it's been a great program, and I'm excited to graduate and get started.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing. I feel like it's helpful for people that are in our audience because a lot of people, have complex things going on in their life and sometimes need that kick in the pants, whether it comes from inside or from a sibling. And I think it's also so cool that you're making this chest for your brother who's going to retire, and he's kind of in a way the inspiration for you being here. So
Yeah, he also bought me a very nice like $500 set of chisels for Christmas last year, and I used every single one of them on this.
Cool.
Yeah.
Melanie, any advice for anybody from your vantage point now being here, things that you kind of wish you knew or anything like that?
I would say, like, if you have any reservations about it, you're like, oh, I don't know if I know enough or if I will fit in, don't worry about it. Like, my only woodworking experience before coming was over a decade ago, a couple of years of architecture school, which was like not this kind of stuff, like MDF and like installation art and very loosey-goosey. And I was a little bit worried about my experience level, and I got here and I realized it doesn't matter. Like, they will start you from the very bottom, build your fundamentals, make you comfortable, and get you up to speed.
That's great. Melanie, thank you so much, and congratulations on this beautiful project.
Thank you, Rob.
Awesome work.
All right. So cabinet and furniture making is our largest program here at North Bennett Street School. We have space for about 40 students. Our student to teacher ratio is 13-1, so we'll have about it's four instructors that are up here.
Yep.
Dan?
Yep, we have 4 full-time instructors and 1 part-time instructor.
Great. And you can see there's a lot of people are working on various projects. The toolbox that we saw, Svetlana is just starting as a first semester student who probably just finished her shaker nightstand. Is that true, Dan?
Yep, so they just about as a group wrapped up the shaker nightstand, which is kind of the culmination of all the fundamentals, the introduction for the handwork and machine work, and that's their first project. Once they get through the required drawings, then they can work on designing the toolbox project. So that usually flows into the second semester where this group is right now.
Cool. And then one of the things that I like about the projects here is that the tool chest, it's all, you know, putting practical lessons to work, but also the toolbox is a scale model of a chest of drawers, which is something that you may make as a commission at some point.
Yeah, so the shaker nightstand project is an introduction to table construction that brings together all those things, and the toolbox is an introduction to traditional casework, you know, so it is part of the philosophy of how we're trying to teach the build.
Cool. And we're going to visit now with Aiden. Aiden, how are you doing today?
I'm good, how are you?
Great. And you're also working on, it looks like, some dovetails for your toolbox.
Yes, I am.
And Aiden, what semester are you in?
I'm in a second semester.
Cool. Will you share with us a little bit about your story and how you came to North Bennett Street School?
Sure. I started doing woodworking in high school. I went to CRLS and they had a Voc Tech program in the school. I was really interested in the carpentry program, and they train you to kind of go into the union afterwards. And
Okay.
I didn't really want to go into the union. I didn't want to do drywall 8 hours a day. So my teacher, who had taught here previously, told me about this place, and it was always kind of in my sights. And so right after high school, I graduated and went to UMass, and it was all online. COVID had just hit, and I didn't think this place was open, and I was just hating the online school, so I decided that I would immediately leave and try my luck here, and I got in, and it was honestly just the best decision that I've made so far. So that's a little bit about how I got here. But
That's great. When we were, so Aiden went to Cambridge Range and Latin, which also has vocational education, and as Aiden mentioned, one of their instructors used to be an instructor in the carpentry program, right? And I'm repeating some of this stuff because I know it's a little bit hard to hear. It's a little noisy in our area, and so I just want to make sure that people at home can hear. And then we do a lot of tours through all of the programs, and Aiden has been talking with prospective students that have been coming through. It's one of the reasons why I asked Aiden if we could stop by and speak with him. And one of the things you brought up, Aiden, was that you're one of the younger people that's in the program, and I feel like, you know, we're maybe average age around 30. Our age limit is 120, I think. Nobody's beat it, and we're 18 and up. But I also feel like there's something in a way that's ageless about how people come here and what their attraction is. And would you speak to that a little bit?
yeah, the age doesn't really seem to matter. I mean, I'm 19 now, and I came in at 18, and it was like, I walked in and I was like, oh geez, everyone here is older than me. I was kind of nervous. And then it was like, oh, well, I've done some of this in high school, and I can wrap my head around it a little easier. You know, I haven't been given any bad habits yet as far as woodworking goes because I'm younger. So that is kind of an advantage that I have. I feel like I can learn things a little faster. And so that's definitely a benefit to being young in this program. And plus, this trade in particular needs much more young people. So as a young person in this trade, people like to compensate you with old tools and whatnot. So that's nice too. So
That's great. And Aiden, any advice that you could give to anybody in our audience from your perspective now, being here for a little while?
Yeah. So the one mistake that I made was not applying right out of high school because I was afraid that I just wouldn't get in. But of course, you're never actually going to know unless you apply.
That's a great point.
Once I got in, I was like, oh, it almost really only matters that you have understanding of a creative process and a will to learn the hand skills, because they'll let you in and they'll build you from the ground up. So it's just best to try. It's not like one of those dance around the fence kind of thing. You kind of just have to go for it, because once you're here, you're pretty committed to it. I mean, it seems very niche, so you kind of have no choice.
Cool. Aiden, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Of course.
All right. So now we're gonna visit with Krista.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm well. How are
Cool. Good. And what are you working on, Krista?
I am working on my toolbox. The toolbox is a lesson to help us get really into dovetails and drawer making. It's one of the main projects that we can really gain a lot of knowledge in well-made construction.
Great.
So what I like to do with the one thing that I've been learning here is that, you know, I like to add some of my own design elements to these projects.
Right.
So, you know, we're learning how to make really well-made furniture here. And then how to balance that with, you know, something that you're going to bring to it that's unique to you, but still maintain that integrity of well-made furniture and not have that be compromised.
Okay.
So I added a little bit of pink veneer. I work a lot with skateboard veneer.
Cool.
It's thicker, it's brighter, and they've been really, Dan and Matt have been really supportive of my creative process in terms of how do we make that happen but still maintain the fundamentals without compromising them. Because a lot of times you can see furniture that looks great, but it's not going to last. So that's like a really nice balance that I'm learning here. So, and then I have like something like this where instead of just turning a regular knob, I wanted to make it a more of an interactive experience.
Okay.
So when you turn it, the light goes on inside.
Oh, nice.
So with a shaker nightstand, it would make sense that if you needed to get into it at night,
Right.
you just turn your knob and you've got a light inside the drawer.
Very cool. And this is similar as well with sort of the skateboarding material.
Yep. Mhm. And then I play around with finishes so that if you can see, this is really a matte finish, but this is really glossy so that the light hits that knob first.
Right.
So you're playing with different, you're playing with the light in the room.
Cool.
So this is also skateboard veneer as well, and I turned it on the lathe.
Will you also show us the table behind you, which I think very cool.
I've been working with a lot of Clara walnut, and that is a species of walnut that's comes from Northern California, and I want to give a shout out to Diane Roberts, who helped me get this walnut.
That's great.
We actually found it in the garbage, and she went out of her way and shipped it out here for me, and so I have been making everything out of it. And what I did here, with the help of my instructor Jamie, is we laminated the skateboard veneer into the leg, and I turned that as well. So what I really am striving to do, if you think about like the whole the motivation here in terms of traditional design work with the types of designs we're learning here.
Right.
I'm babbling. The traditional cabriolet leg, ball and claw feet. I say this endearingly, but it's like I'm trying to bridge something that's a little more fresh into this more traditional design aesthetic, so that we can get that conversation going again.
I think it's great.
Because if I say you've seen one cabriolet leg, you've seen them all. I don't think I'm making that up. But the craftsmanship that goes into making that leg it's 100 years old, and it's important that we maintain that type of tradition and that type of fundamental artistry. But how do we get people's attention again? How do we stop them from picking up the paintbrush and painting it white? And so I thought, let me see if I can bring some interest that has a slight contemporary edge to it and bridge it into these more traditional aesthetics.
Well, I'd say you're doing it. I wouldn't say you're trying. I'd
Yeah.
say you're making it happen.
Thank you.
That's really great.
The next step to actually do the cabriolet style, because then I can really see if anybody says,
Right.
oh, that's pretty, what is that? And then I can get into what a cabriolet leg is.
All right, Tony Hawk, we're talking to you. Get
Yeah,
some
and,
furniture.
and bridging those generations that may not even know what that is, you know? So, and this is the same skateboard veneer done in a, I forgot the name of,
It's beautiful.
my mind went blank.
Krista.
Herringbone veneer, there we go. You got it.
Herringbone veneer.
Yep.
Very
Style,
nice.
so.
And then I wanted to check in with you. We were just talking to Aiden, who said, you know, he was a year or so out of high school before he applied, and then I know your story. You came to open house. What was it? Maybe 3 years ago or so.
It was just before COVID. It was
Right.
that November.
Right.
The last open house. And then COVID hit, but I was actually accepted here when I was 20, which we talked about.
Right.
In 1990. So 30 years later, you can do the math.
Yep.
And I have no problem representing sort of that middle-aged group of people who decide they want to, you know, not put a limit on their creativity and their inspiration. You can still do it, you know, you can still take that leap. So it's a dream come true to be here for me, and I'm really, every day I'm so excited I get to be here. So, and like Aiden said, the age thing is, it's not really, it's a blurred boundary here, because
Right.
we all cross-pollinate and we all share stories and inspiration, and we go to the other side of the room and then we come here, and so it's really not a big deal, you know. It's actually, it makes that diversity something that we can really lean on and leverage against, because we all have different life experiences, and Aiden brings something, you know, so far removed from me.
Right.
Because I don't know what's going on, and I bring that to him, so.
Thank you so much for sharing. And I remember when we met, and you know, being someone who was accepted previously, but for whatever the circumstances, you weren't able to come, but you still had this kind of calling, if you will, about wanting to get here, and we're so happy that you're here now.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks for stopping by.
You got it.
Krista's bench.
Cool. John, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Good. Also working on a toolbox.
Yes, I am.
Great. Will you share with us what it is you're up to?
Yeah, I'm currently putting finish on the toolbox and applying some shellac to the inside and the drawer parts so that it'll be able to run nicely when it's all said and done.
Nice. And what kind of wood is this you're working with here?
This is African mahogany.
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't know if we can see at home, but there's these kind of reddish and brown shades here that are just, it's a little bit different than a lot of the things we see. So.
Yeah, it's got a really cool grain to it.
Nice. And John, will you tell us your story about finding North Bennett Street School and how you came to be here?
Yeah, definitely. I went to a high school for creative and performing arts because I wanted to originally be an architect, and I did scenic design and construction, but it was kind of on the weekends and during summers where I started to really get interested in furniture making. So after high school, I eventually heard about this school from a family friend and ended up applying. I guess that was back in 2013 maybe, somewhere around there, and ended up joining a religious order in the Catholic Church. So eventually I got through the wait list, but Rob and I were able to track me to a later date after I finished other studies in Chicago.
That's great. Thank you for sharing. And yeah, this is a theme I think that's developing here, is that, you know, because of life circumstances, the timing really makes a difference for people, and sometimes people don't get started at exactly the time that they want. But if you're persistent and it's something that still is, you know, kind of calling you, you can get here. So. John, do you have any advice for anybody in our audience from where you are now? What are your thoughts?
I guess I would say if you're interested in the program, and even if it might be a year, 10 years down the road, whatever it might be, keep pursuing it to some level and finding out ways to teach yourself or taking small classes here or there, because that's what I was trying to do in between that time where I was waiting to have the opportunity to come here, and I think it's really paid off a lot.
That's great. John, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, everybody. So we're going to turn the corner here.
We're gonna wrap around the bend. So some of these folks are in that Windsor chair workshop you stopped by in the beginning.
Sure.
So they're
And then this is Conrad's chair he's working on.
Yep.
And then he's also making a few blanket chests.
Yeah, you'll see those around the corner. John's up here on the
His
left
toolbox.
here, so we can pop in and say hi.
Cool. Hey, John, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. So we're live for open house.
Oh, excellent.
And we're wondering if you could share with us what it is you're up to. What are you working on?
What am I up to? Okay. Well, I am actually in the middle of a Windsor chair workshop. So in this workshop, we are basically going from log to chair. So we started by literally learning how to split a log of green red oak and get from that the bow of the chair. So this would be the bow, which we shaved down to a shape, and then we put in a steam box and we bent it.
Okay.
And then we get the spindles out of ash, and we're taking and we turn legs and we're going to turn the stretchers next, turning legs, stretchers. So basically right now we're shaping the parts.
Okay.
And we're going to put it all together by starting to fit the legs into the seat, which is pine. The seat's pine. So you've got a piece of pine, you've got green wood from the red oak, you've got ash, and you've got maple legs. And we'll start putting the legs in, and then we will fit actually I think we'll be boring the holes for the bow, and then we'll be fitting the spindles to the bow and to the seat. So it's quite a process, and to me, the most interesting part of it is taking something from tree to furniture.
Right.
You know, and the idea that I could actually do this at home with logs. I could see myself spending a Saturday splitting and riving wood, right? And that would be really, I think that's really cool. That aspect of it. So, yeah.
John, I noticed there's a bunch of lines on the pine part of the seat. Does this have to do with when you start shaping this, what the depth or the shape is going to be?
No, actually, this has to do with where you drill the holes and the angle that you drill them at. So
I see.
This is each of the legs and the spindles, they have a rake to them and they have a splay to them. So they have two, it's a compound, right? So
Okay.
This is a sight line, and then we made a jig, or actually Peter, our instructor, brought a jig that allows us to line up a part of the jig on this dot, but that's on this sight line.
Okay.
And when I do that, and then I use my drill, there's a fixture on the jig that guides the drill, but it's guiding it at the angle that I've set based on this sight line. So this is a sight line for that hole, sight line for that hole, sight line, sight line for each of these holes. That's the purpose of it. Nothing on here about the shape until you look here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a scorp,
All right.
and then we will be shaping the actual seat based on this line, which we're going to use a tool I haven't used before. So we're going to
Okay.
find out about that, I think, when we come back from the break. But yeah, we'll be shaping the seat based on that line. And yeah, so that's quite.
nice.
It's quite a process. It's a very interesting work. A lot of handwork, a lot of just making things square, and then taking square things and making them octagons, and then refining them a bit to make them be able to fit into these holes. So I mean, I enjoy that process. I enjoy that type of work. I enjoy
Right.
the hand tool work. It's a different kind of, there's just a different feel to it, right?
Cool.
And it's a nice change from other things that I've been working on. So
Right,
yeah.
right. Speaking of which, John, will you share your story of how you came to North Bennett Street School? What were you doing before you came here?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a retired military, but I am also a elementary school teacher. So I teach here in the city of Boston, 1st through 6th grade science, and my school graciously gave me a two-year leave of absence to be able to come here and kind of fulfill a lifelong dream. So I've been a hobbyist.
Okay.
And this is something that I could see myself doing in retirement, for pleasure primarily, because I derive great pleasure from it. But I know the idea of becoming an expert at something that's a hobby, right, is really why I wanted to pursue this. So that's what I hope to do in retirement. In the meantime, when I get back to school, I hope to be. I had a woodworking club before I came here.
Right.
I hope to take it up another level.
I'll bet you will. I was going to ask how this might impact your goals and career as a teacher as well.
Now, I tell you, this might seem crazy, but I could see a 10-year-old building a Windsor chair.
Okay.
I think I could see them. Everything that we've done so far is really safe. There's a lot of positive control of tools, and I think you could do this with a 10-year-old.
All right. What do you think, Dan?
I'm all for it.
I'll bring mine in tomorrow.
All right, good.
John, thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you.
And Dan, this is your bench over here, isn't it?
That is. My bench is stagnant right now
Okay.
because we're doing the Windsor Chair Workshop. So right now, the 3rd and 4th semester students are working with Peter Galbert, who's a friend of the school. He's kind of the expert in the field. We've all done some Windsors, but it's nice to be able to bring somebody like Peter into the fold. He also has a graduate of ours, an alumni that works with him, Charlie Ryland.
That's right.
So Charlie's in there actually working right now with the group. I typically, as far as the instruction in the program, oversee the program. I teach a lot of the traditional chair work, so like the modern chair that you'll see over on the side. We can see some of the chairs kicking around the shop. That's kind of one of my leads. I lead the 3rd semester students most of the time, where Lance Patterson, who you met in the beginning, leads our 4th semester students, so the more experience, the more detail. But then we have Matt Wada, kind of leads the 2nd semester, where we're talking about the toolboxes, and Jamie Pope is leading our 1st semester group right now. So right now I'm kind of in limbo helping all of the other semesters because my folks are busy doing Windsors with Pete and Charlie. So.
That's
But
great.
anyways, this is where I teach. We try to do small group instruction when we can. There's a lot of individual work in the program. But in this section, like I said, we have a monitor to be able to project video. It could be recorded video or we already have from previous or up close video. Obviously our own whiteboards and whatnot. And every instructor has their own home base for that type of instruction. Plus there's a demonstration room for larger group instruction as well. So.
Cool. And then Dan, you've been the head of the program for a number of years now.
I think this is 13 years, something like that.
And you also, if I recall correctly, you came out of here right out of high school.
I did.
think. Where did you go? Swampscott?
I went to Swampscott High School.
And they had a woodworking program now that is transitioned to robotics. But we got Dan out of there before
Before it was
then,
gone.
thankfully.
Yeah.
And then before you came on board as a faculty member,
Yep.
you were also instrumental in creating the 3-month furniture intensive.
Yeah, so I got involved in the workshop or CE program as it is now. Actually, back when I was a student, I graduated here in December of 1994, and that summer I started on the workshop program, assisting like Will Neptune and Paula Gabarino and some of the founders of our CE program the way it is now. And then I got into teaching, and I had taught workshops, since '94, and was active in that. And then I got into developing quite a few workshops. So the 3-month intensive was a combination of all of the CE classes we were teaching and folks that really wanted to come full time, but maybe could never make that bridge. And it was a way to get them some really good high-end quality skills in a program that happened every day. So there was a commitment to coming in, and it kind of filtered and hit a need right off the bat. But what we found out is it's a filter for people to actually test the waters before coming here. and that was an unforeseen like advantage. They come here with a little bit more of a heads up of what a day in the life of a North Bennett Street student is. And even though they're going to repeat information, they're going to get a more depth, a chance here when they're talking to the instructors. They'll repeat the information. They might need to get some information that they had missed the first time, or just hearing it again just makes them a little bit better. But
And it helps people to kind of hit the ground running.
hit the ground running.
And I think what's interesting for our audience, first I want to just share with everyone that continuing education has returned as of, I think, last Monday. You can go and see what's being offered and look to see if anything fits what your interests and goals are. But then I also find it fascinating in talking with the students. I want to say Svetlana and Melanie mentioned, hey, if you even don't have a lot of woodworking experience, you can come right into this program, and the curriculum and the faculty and your will and effort will build you up from a place. So there's many different entry points. I don't want for people to think that it's necessary to go to the 3-month before they come, but people come in every direction.
Yeah, and again, if you're here and you're committed and you have the will and desire to do it, we'll help you get through it and do the best you can. If you have some experience coming in, or if you're unsure, I think the workshop program is a good way to get a taste of really what we're about. But it's not necessary to do those things to come here. If you do apply and you work with Rob and Sharon, and then Rob and I will sit down and talk about you and your application and all those things. And if it just seems like a right fit for everybody, then you're welcome. So
that's great. Speaking of which, we have a January 31st start. Our class is, I think, mostly built, but we do still have a couple of spots if you're interested, and we're also recruiting for the September 6th start as well, and into the foreseeable future, as you heard from some of the students that are here now.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's always good to start that dialogue. Right?
Absolutely. So we're going in a circle around the bench room here, and the machine room is in the middle. I'll put the camera up to the window, but we'll stay out of there. And I also want to make sure for our audience at home, we have some time to answer any questions that you might have about the program. I will be hosting an information session this Friday at 11. So if you have any questions, want to learn more about admissions requirements, process, financial aid, scholarship, you can use this same registration to meet with me Friday at 11. And of course, you can contact the school directly, admissions@nbss.edu. But if you have questions that are specific to the cabinet and furniture making program, Dan is here with us now, and he can answer those questions. So I'm looking at the chat. I can see it here. So if anyone has any questions, now's a great time. And we're also, this section that we're in right now, we're with students that just started here this past September. We started on the other side, speaking with Svetlana. Her bench is the one on the light, with the lights on up to the top right there. And in this semester, everyone learns how to draft. There are full-scale drafts.
Take a look right behind you there.
I'll show you this. And this is something that people may or may not build. Okay. I'm not sure how these lines might come across here. Yeah. That looks pretty good. And this is freehand and full scale. And everyone, regardless of the experience that you have coming in, if you have mechanical drawing or architecture or anything like that, that's certainly helpful. But just like the woodworking, you will learn this here. And I would say, I don't know what people's opinions are that are in the middle of it, but when you get through this, I think people look back and can understand the value of, I think, helping with spatial intelligence, things
yeah, like all
that.
the drafting we do, any project you're going to build, we want to be able to draw a full-size drawing. And whether I do it by hand still, but there are folks that want to do CAD drawings and whatnot. But the understanding of the hand full-size drawings, we're actually building the projects on paper first. You're trying to problem solve. You're trying to answer all of the questions, and we have a set curriculum of drafts that they need to do, and those drawings are going to help build a few things. They're going to learn the joinery. They're going to learn some terminology, how the furniture is constructed. They're going to learn proportion. They learn a little bit of design through that. So it's an introduction to a core thing of materials at that point, and information. So as they step out into designing their own pieces, their own projects, whether it's traditional or not, they have that vocabulary and that knowledge to start with our help to design those things. And hopefully by the time you graduate here, your problem solving skills, your understanding of the fundamentals of construction, all of those things culminate together to make you a productive furniture maker.
That's great. So there's 5 full-scale pieces of furniture that you'll draw.
Yep.
There's a 20-pack of joinery.
Yep, it's a joiner. It's an introduction to basically learn how to draft, but also those core packet of 20 are joints that you'll use in your furniture. So they're references for the students as they're designing now and after they get out. In each full-size drawing, they're projects that if somebody really wanted to build those, they're good learning projects as well. They're useful drawings, not just vehicles to draft.
Right, and like now as we walk
right
around,
there, yeah,
we
right
can
there's
see
the blanket chest,
the blanket
like Melanie.
chest.
Yeah, exactly.
Which we've passed a number of blanket chests, including the lucky one that Melanie's making.
Yeah.
And then interspersed with the drawings, Dan, is also people will turn their own mallet.
Yep.
They'll make their own marking gauge.
Yep. They make
they'll
oil stone box. We have, they do all the practice joinery. So we do dovetails, mortise and tenon, lap joints. They do an introduction to machine woodworking that we actually build a small candle box. I think there's probably one floating around here somewhere. You can see them up top.
Right.
But it's just a way to get people in there to learn, like I said, the basics, the introduction to be able to work to a high level, accurately and safely. And that pertains to the machine work and the bench work. The bench work is just as demanding and has its own safety risks as well. So we want to teach people proper use of hand tools and maintenance and how to work. We do that.
Cool. That's great.
Yeah. We can kind of walk on. If you want, if we have time, if there's no questions, you could pop in the library or the finishing room.
Yeah,
or any of those
will you show us
Sure.
the library
Sure.
and the finishing room, Dan?
Yeah, happy to. So coming up here, this is the instructor bench where Jamie Pope is, where he's leading the first semester groups.
Okay.
And Art.
Hey, Art,
Come
how
and
are
see
you?
Art. So what happens with a lot of things in CFM, especially our library that's grown over the years, we get alumni like Art to volunteer to help us. So we get a lot of book donations from alums or other people who know the school. Our library is probably about 1,600 or so books at this point. Almost 1,900 books at this point, because we had two new donations that came in this year, and this has grown. If we walk out of this room, there's a mahogany cabinet out there. When I was a student here in 1992 to 94, we had that one cabinet worth of books.
Right.
It's grown to this whole library that is packed. Now we're looking for another expansion at this point.
That's great.
And there are references. We do have some books digitally. We have a program on the computer that, with help from folks like Art and Jeannie Thorndike and Dan Weissman, they've helped us be able to get it so you can access the books outside of the building as far as knowing what we have. When we've had things donated, like Peter Galber's donated videos to us, you can access that through the library. So anyways, it's a lot more interactive in a way, but it's still a real book. You can sit down, you can get inspired by it. We design from them. We use them for building ideas, and and whatnot. And it can be anything from historical to technical, and it can be a smattering of basic carpentry all the way through upholstery and finishing and carving. There's all different types of sections in here that we've done. And the books and also the magazines, Fine Woodworking magazines from day one, American Woodworker magazines, Antiques magazines, home furniture, all the different things that you could think of, and the modern ones too. We try to keep the Mortise and Tenon magazines up to date with them. We have a good relationship with Lost Art Press. We try to support their work. We have a Lost Art press section of books that we're trying to keep up to date. And
That's great. And then we also, I think Lance has been taking photographs of people's work, and then Lance also has his own book, and I can recall Timo made a chest of drawers that had kind of a part of a herringbone pattern that he came and got inspired out of that book. And then my other thought in listening to you, Dan, is with the library expansion, the cabinet that's outside, isn't that Massa's cabinet?
No, that cabinet was built in remembrance of George Fullerton, who basically really transformed the program back in the early 1950s. But he was like Lance's instructor, and Will Neptune and Brian Kelly and Alex Krutsky, they were the instructors at the time when George had passed. They built that cabinet in remembrance of him.
Oh, nice.
But Massa's cabinet that you're referring to is actually down in Claire's office, which is housing some of kind of the rare books that pertain to the early parts of the school and some of the instructional for the Sloyd techniques for kids and whatnot. So
very cool.
It has a purpose, but it's linked to our library as well. So we know where those books are.
That's
and
great.
What's
The
down
provost
there.
has the reference
She does.
section.
She does.
Excellent. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Good
Yeah. Will you show us the finish room,
Sure.
Dan?
Sure. Let's take a walk. Take a walk down here. Come on, we're gonna come on in. We're gonna join you.
You guys following?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let everybody come in.
I guess this is a good time to ask questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I just did probably like 20 coats on this or so.
Yep.
And it's starting to get sticky when I'm putting it on.
Yep.
So should I scrape it now, or
How long's it been since your last coat?
we're probably approaching half an hour.
Yeah. If you want, you can hit it with a razor blade, hit the dust out of there. But basically, you don't want to sand it yet because it's too soft to do that. But you could hit it, get the little nub fibers out. Then you could pad another session if you wanted to.
Okay. Probably not a big deal for the bottom, right?
Have you done anything on the top yet? I
No,
might
not
wait
yet.
then. I might flip it and do a session on the top.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
I'm glad I got to ask.
Yeah. Pretty much all the finishes we do and we teach are hand-applied finishes. So in the beginning with shaker nightstand, we actually do a lot of shellac, like introduction to shellac work. It's a product that we can use that's easily manipulated. You can have a satin sheen up to a really high polish. It's pretty easy to work with. If there are mistakes in it, it's easily repairable. It's a traditional finish as well. But we do, shellac. We do some oil-based finishes. We do a little bit of paint work, depending. We do some milk paint on the Windsor chairs. Will probably be painted projects. Some of the nightstands end up getting painted as well. But we do have access to a spray booth. We have one of our instructors, Matt Wada, is a lot more versed in spray technology than a lot of us. And what we try to do at the end of our chair workshop that we do, our traditional chair workshop, is an opportunity for them to get in the spray booth with Matt. And the spray booth is part of the piano technology program, but we do have access to it and schedule that. And we try to get people in there just to learn a little bit about what it's about. So if they're interested long term, they can learn a little bit more about it. Or maybe in their own careers, maybe they actually hook up with a finisher that can help them with some larger projects. And with that being the case, then at least they have some terminology and they know some basics of what they're asking and to be able to have a dialogue with that. But like I said, most of what we do are hand-applied finishes, and depending on the scale of work that you plan to do in the future, if you're doing a lot of cabinet work or things like that, it's not practical or prudent to be doing hand-applied finishes. So you might get into spraying or hook up with a finisher, but if you're really just doing small projects, one-off projects, custom furniture, then something like a hand-applied finish is more than acceptable. So
That's great.
Yeah.
I just saw a question come across the chat here, Dan, and I'm gonna see if I can tackle it based on listening to you and observing what's happening here.
Yep.
Someone asked if restoration was part of the program, and what I've learned here, and tell me if I'm right or wrong here, Dan, is I think by making something, you'll make mistakes along the way that you'll have to repair.
Yeah.
And in a sense, I get that conservation and restoration are kind of complex pieces on their own.
Yeah.
But I think there is a certain amount of repair, at least, that you can learn through making, and that's different than learning construction by starting with demolition.
Yeah, and also you have that in your own projects, but we do have some restoration that happens here. There are some students that get interested in it. There are projects that are donated to us that we will. They're not part of our everyday curriculum, but they'll happen in your 2 years here. You'll see things that happen, and also people that are really interested in it. We try to hook them up with alumni who are willing to share with that. Like we have a couple of folks right now in their fourth semester. They're graduating in another month, but they're really interested in restoration work, and we have an alumni that's just outside of the city of Boston. He's in Lynn, Mass, Ron Trapasso, and Ron's going to take them in and kind of share his knowledge from the past 50 years of doing restoration work. So anyways, we have those hookups. We try to bring those folks in, so you do kind of learn through your own mistakes and what's going on here. You'll get exposure to it. But it's also, I actually got into doing restoration work after I graduated here. I was interested, and I went and worked with people. I worked with Ron Trapasso for a couple of years, and I learned restoration work. So
this reminds me too, Dan, in hearing you talk about connecting people, I'm reminded of, I want to say, Dimitri, I think, had wanted to go a little bit deeper into carving, and I know you have a reputation as a master carver, yet you connected him with someone so that he could go and take a workshop somewhere and come back.
Yeah, so if somebody has a real specific interest and they want to take one aspect of what we do, like we kind of have an approach to give a little bit of everything. We're mainly focused on how to build, and we're mainly focused on construction. And we teach a little bit of carving, we teach a little bit of marquetry, teach a little bit of inlay and banding, and it really depends on the student's interest and kind of where they are ability-wise as they're here. But if they take a shine to something in particular, we want to try to hook them up with somebody who is really proficient in that. Maybe they're the master of that craft, maybe they're just really well versed in that technique. So somebody like Dimitri, we hooked him up with Demetrius Klitstis, who's a carver in Massachusetts, but he's a Grecian-trained master wood carver. And I think about the carving that we do is really furniture embellishment. It's a certain scale, where somebody like Demetrius is a master carver and will carve anything from the furniture scale up to a full crucifix of Jesus. I've seen that in his work too.
Wow.
So it's, but I think what's nice about our particular place is we have such a wide net of connections and friends of the school that we can help, bridge it all over the country. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Dan, do you have any advice for anybody in the audience for if they're thinking of coming in this direction?
Yeah. What I would say is I know it's hard not to be intimidated. Everybody that comes here, no matter where they've been and what they've done, they always look around when they first come in. It's like, how am I ever going to do that? And I was the same way. I think I was fortunate. I was young. Like I said, like you said, I came out of high school and I didn't know what I didn't know. And that was helpful. It was kind of like, I was a blank slate. But if you can take the intimidation part of that out of there, The program is set up to help you succeed. Our goal is to give you as much information as we can, help you get through the projects in the best way we can, and match the projects to your ability at that given time. And that'll change in your 2 years while you're here. So if you can get over that part of, like I said, of not feeling like you're good enough or anything like that, we all feel that way when we start. And it's amazing what you'll be able to do. If you're willing to put in the time and the commitment, then you will succeed here as a student. There's no doubt.
That's very helpful. Dan, thank you so much.
Yeah, sure.
Alex, what about yourself? Any advice for our audience here?
The thing that I'm glad that I did before I came here was practice sharpening. And we do it differently here, but and translated well. So just practice, because if you can get your tools sharp, it makes everything else easier. Yeah,
That's great.
that's my advice.
Alex, thanks so much.